Hey, you are listening to Oh Crap Parenting with me, your host, Jamie Glowacki. This is a podcast for conscious parents who drop the F-bomb a lot. Hey, you guys. Welcome. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you might notice my very fancy background. I am in my utility room with a door closed because I did not have time to go to my co-working space. And I'm trying to get away from my rooster and my dog. So you can see my washer, which by the way broke down last week and I had to get a new one, but it was Black Friday. So I'm very excited. Like if your washing machine's going to break, the week before Thanksgiving is the best time for something to break. In any event, and you might notice my cute new haircut. I cut my hair from long back to a pixie cut because I can't stand hair. So it looks cute and I'm very happy with it. So today I want to talk about how I stay grounded, particularly through the holidays. I thought that might be helpful given that this is Thanksgiving and we're kicking off the season. Yes. But before I do, I want to give you guys a soft warning that I have thought very carefully about. You guys know me, you know my work, and you know that I am not all about, parenting is so precious. Enjoy every moment. You're going to miss this when it's gone. Treasure every moment. Fuck that. You're not going to treasure every moment. And you're probably not going to miss a lot of what's happening right now. I certainly don't miss the under 6 years for sure. However, it does go faster than you can imagine. And I'm going to try not to cry, but I have recorded this several times and cried each time. So no guarantees. So it goes so fast. And Pascal is 18. He still lives with me. So I'm not quite an empty nester, but I have the empty nest vibe because he's gone. He's gone. He's got his friends. He's got his job. He has secured his electrician apprenticeship. He starts the program in the fall. Like he's got plans. He's got goals. And I am background noise. What you are going to miss is being your child's favorite person, being the person your child wants to spend time with the most. And I'm giving you this warning, not so that I want you to be paralyzed thinking you're not doing enough or that you have to do more. In fact, I want you to do less because one of the things that happens is as your child grows, you start getting into school activities, sports activities, travel sports. And I can tell you right now, nothing decimates a family unit more than travel sports. So proceed with that very carefully and cautiously. Now, I'm bringing this up for December because I think December is a bouillon cube of the year as far as activities. And I'm such a proponent, as you guys know, of do less activities, more at home, more connection, more roughhousing, more reading, more lounging, more movie watching, just more family stuff. Because as your child grows, that crumbles. And it is something that I have regret, even though I know I can't change it. And even though I don't know that I could have done it any differently. And we homeschooled. So I had lots of time with Pascal and I still wish I had more. And what I really wish is in these early years is that I spent more time just loving him and doing less. I wish I'd let the house go more. I wish I'd not gotten caught in so many activities, not thinking I needed to enrich him. I wish, even though we spent a lot of time in the kitchen, I wish we spent more. Even though we spent a lot of time reading, I wish we'd done more. And I wish I'd treasured more of the time in which I was his favorite person and he wanted to be with me more than anyone. Because once that goes, it is gone. And you're not getting it back. And I think what happens is we assume our kids are going to be in our lives forever, which hopefully they will be, right? And yeah, I've always imagined, holidays with grandbabies and, his wife and whatever happens. that may happen, but I'm just background noise. I have now been relegated to background noise. And it hits somewhere around 13, the treadmill picks up speed because, again, of activities, and they become peer oriented. They want to be with their friends. Their friends take precedence. And then when they start dating, that really takes precedence. And the hardest year of my life was when Pascal was 15, because he had a social life, he had a job, he had all these things going on, but he didn't have transportation. So I was an Uber bitch. And I hear moms, when I say this, I hear moms of toddlers say, oh, I'm already an Uber bitch. No, you're not, because you get love and snuggles. And even if your kid's tantruming in the car, when they're done, they want to snuggle. They want to converse with you. But when they're 15, the headphones go in and you're done. You're not interesting anymore. And so I think my big warning is, I hate to say treasure, because I don't want you guys to think like you need to do more. Just love them more, and do less, do more at home. Again, more reading, more roughhousing, more lounging, more movie watching, more time in the kitchen together, more game playing, because you will never regret that. And then what happens again is it goes away. It goes away and you will never get it back. So I really thought a lot about this, and one of my it's a mixed regret, because I had to do this. I'm a single mom, and how unbelievably grateful I am that, oh crap, potty training took off, and oh crap, I have a toddler, and then the 10th anniversary of oh crap, potty training, like fucking lucky, right? Along with a lot of hard work. But if I could do it again, that's 3 books that I wrote in Pascal's lifetime. That was at least 3 years of intense deadlines, intense focus, intense like brushing him off so that I could work. And if I could do it again, it's not that I would not want to have written these books or have the career that I have or have you guys listening to me and trusting me, but I would have extended deadlines. I would have made it a little more concrete, where I could work for 2 hours in the morning and then have time free, so that I wasn't constantly pushing him off. These deadlines made things really intense. And yeah, so I regret that. And I regret not having established a self-care routine that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes that can be truncated when times are intense and busy, but still need to be in place so that I would have been the best parent I could have been at the time. I let things, like we all do, I let self-care spiral out of control. I would let sleep spiral out of control. And then I'd be hungry and starved for more. And I'd have to take big breaks. And I wish I'd titrated it more so that I had a more even pace. And so that's kind of the advice I want to give you guys, is if you can do that instead of running yourself ragged and then needing extra time to pick up, or extra time, like burning yourself out, right? So take that as you will. I know it's incredibly hard because we work, right? We have to work. We have to make money and we have to do things. But one thing I see a lot overall in my private client work is both parents pursuing careers heavily, which I'm not denigrating. We all need careers. We need identities other than parenting. And I'm not suggesting anybody stay home with their kids if you don't want to stay home with your kids. If you want to stay home with your kids, go ahead. But even stay-at-home parents burn out too, because they're touched out. They're with their kids all the time. So I know it can be a clusterfuck, but if you have the availability, I would say try your best to spend more time with your kids and less time at work. And I know in this economy, people have to work a couple of jobs or work extra hours, and I get that. But really, really, really consider this. These years are so short, particularly 0 to 6. And again, you just don't get them back. And you don't get the love from your kid the way you get in these early years. And sometimes I work with clients whose kids are in daycare from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. And first of all, it's tremendously hard to work on potty training or parenting when you're only with your kid a couple of hours a day and just on the weekends. But it also my heart breaks a little because on the other side of this parenting journey, now that my kid's 18, I feel like, oh, you're gonna wish you did it differently. And so take this warning with a grain of salt, take what you need, leave the rest. This is no judgment. I'm not telling anybody what to do. But I always say too, if you are in that crunch time, if you only get a couple of hours a day with your kid because of work activities, whatever, just make those hours really count. And I would do less worrying about teaching and, manners and those kinds of things, and just so much more time loving and relaxing. And that will yield you better behavior with your child when you have that time. I see a lot of the behavior that's happening with kids is they're just burnt out too. They're so burnt out and they really want time. I think back to 2020 and all the clients I was working with at the time of the pandemic, everybody was so, oh my God, do you remember that? Do you remember trying to work and kids going to school at home on Zooms? What a disaster. But I remember so many clients of toddlers being like kind of confused. And they were like, oh my God, it's almost like they just want to stay home with me and do nothing. They seem really happy. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what they want. All right. I'm blabbering and I don't want to be all boomer mom and like, you're going to miss it when it's gone. You're not going to miss it. You're not going to miss them being up your ass. I can guarantee that. I don't miss the toddler years in the behavioral aspect, but I do wish I'd capitalized on the time when I was Pascal's favorite person. All right, moving on. How I stay grounded during the holidays. Now, the holidays are particularly challenging, of course, not just the activities, not just the hype of Christmas or whatever you celebrate. There's whatever you celebrate, the chances are there's lights and trees and more baking, more cookies, more sugar, more parties, more events at school, more things. And, the kids are all hyped up about it. Even if you don't do Santa, even if you don't do Elf on the Shelf, they're hearing about it. It's just such a wacky season. And these are things that I do throughout the year, but I really focus on them in December. So right after, Thanksgiving, my birthday's next, we put up the tree, then it's game on, right? And then you have that weekend of the 14th. That's always the most parties, right? And then we have Christmas, and then the week between, Christmas and New Year's is just a dead zone of confusion. So how I stay grounded. I think there's 5 things that are paramount to me staying grounded and sane. And again, this is something I wish I'd really established firmly when Pascal was little. And this can be truncated. This doesn't have to be drawn out. So the first thing is absolutely, I have to get up early. I have to get up. I like to be up before the sun. There's something about that darkness, the quiet time, nobody's online. It just feels very quiet to me. And I love that time. It's not just, I did always get up early, even when Pascal was little, but it's not about that. It's not about just having time away from your kids. I think there's something really sacred about that time where the world hasn't started yet. And I also really enjoy seeing sunrise. So I get up early and the first thing I do is something called morning pages. I have my cup of hot water with electrolytes. I try not to drink coffee right away. And I sit down and I write these morning pages. So this is from a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And that was published in 1994. So I have been doing this almost religiously daily since 1994. That's how much I love it. And basically it's 3 handwritten pages, no computer. It's got to be pen to paper. 3 pages of just stream of consciousness, all your bullshit. It's not quite journaling. I don't like to journal. I used to journal when I was younger and I ended up like throwing away all my journals. I am so paranoid that I'm going to die and all my nonsense headspace is going to be recorded for people to read. So I'm not one to keep journals. I don't do that. I like the morning pages because stream of consciousness, any bullshit going on in my head, I get it out on the paper and then you throw it away. or burn it. You don't keep these. Sometimes I get, as I'm journaling, as I'm writing the morning pages, rather, again, it's not really journaling, I get nuggets of great ideas. Every Instagram reel I've done, every book I've written, every podcast I do has started with a nugget in my morning pages. So I will copy that down into a notebook because I recognize gold when I see it or hear it in myself. But largely, this is just my nonsense. It's just the chatter that's in my head, and I love it. And there have been days where I'll write 15 pages because there's just too much chatter in my head. And that's the whole point, is to just get your gunk out on paper so that gunk isn't rattling around your head, affecting your day. So I can't recommend morning pages enough. It is by far the one thing that I've done consistently for a very long time that is super beneficial. Now, again, if time gets crunched and say I have to like work in the morning, or, you know, I have a deadline or something like that, I will maybe truncate that down to one page. But I still do it. And I still love that. I've had moments like when book deadlines were due where I was like, no, I just got to get to work. I got to get to work. And I was like, you got to get some of the gunk out of your head. The next thing I do is movement. You got to move your body, guys. And it can be a walk. It can be going to the gym. It can be structured. It can be unstructured. It can be a dance party. And that's why I love my rebounder, the little mini trampoline. That has been such a saving grace, because 10 minutes on that and it just, everything goes. But what you really want to do is move your whole body. So I love walking. I think walking's so beneficial. If you could only do one thing, I'd say walk. But even just throw on a couple of songs that you like and just move your arms, move your body, move your rib cage, just limber up your body and shake everything out. Yeah. And then what I'll definitely do is, as time gets crunched, I love going to the gym, love that time, but sometimes I just don't have time. So then I have dumbbells. You know, pick yourself up a set of 10-pound, 15-pound dumbbells, however strong you are. And then you can just do some basic exercises. I have a pull-up bar. I do 15 pull-ups. I do push-ups. I do some air squats. I kick in the air, and I can be done in 10 or 15 minutes. But it's integral to my self-care and my staying sane that I lift something and I move my body in all kinds of ways. So I encourage you to do that too. And again, this can be short or long. There's nothing more than I love. I could spend hours at the gym. Once I get to the gym, I just love it. I could stay there for hours, but who the fuck has hours to spend at the gym? But if you can go and take a class and that's what does you, awesome. Again, there's so much you can just do at home. The next thing is get outside. So I am fortunate/unfortunate that I have a dog that needs many, many miles. So he and I, after my morning pages, we hit the trails in the dark. We're usually about an hour in the dark, and then the sun comes up. So he gets about 5 miles in the morning. So I am walking and getting outside and seeing the sunrise. So that is sacred to me. Now, I recognize that I get up at 4 and that's not for everybody. So, you know, again, I'm sharing what I do, but hopefully it will inspire you to squeeze this in somehow. I think when your kids are little, family walks after dinner are just the best thing you can do. It's great for blood sugar. It's great for bedtime, and it's great for connection time. And even with the sun going down so early, get yourself some headlamps. Is there anything more exciting for a kid than a walk with headlamps? Like, that's crazy. Reflective vests. So it's super doable. And I think that's just a great family activity that is free, and low cost. You might need headlamps, but it's, and also super connecting and just bonding, family bonding time. And it eats up time. If you're like, you know, I recognize that when your kids are this little, sometimes it's like, fuck, just get through the day. How can I suck up a little more time just so that it's bedtime? Family walks are great for that. And if you can, if it's available to you, you know, a walk on your lunch break or a walk, in the morning when your kids are sleeping. Everybody's living situation's different. Everybody's situation's different, but getting outside is key. If you can get outside for sunrise, that's super beneficial for everything. Circadian rhythm, for grounding, for blood sugar. It's just amazing. So if you can, but maybe you can't, so that's okay. But I do think it's really important, especially in the winter, especially in these colder areas. I'm in New England. It's super important to just breathe fresh air. We're in with heaters. I have a wood stove. You just don't want to be cooped inside all the time. There's just something so miraculous about nature. And for your kids, bundle up. Get them outside as much as possible during the winter. I'm a big fan of the elements, rain, snow, short of, just blizzard, dangerous conditions, Minnesota, 45 below. Yes, I understand that you probably can't get outside, but for the most part, most of us can throughout the winter. Days in between. So this is something I discovered with homeschooling. Pascal and I both, I'm way more introverted than people would think, and I need recovery time for sure. And I noticed with Pascal, when we started homeschooling, that really he needed a day in between. And I think one of the hard things about school and work is this sort of it's like relentless people. There's just more people. And if you think about what kids go through in a classroom, it's challenging, right? Like they're constantly monitoring who's got what for lunch, who's wearing what, and this of course gets more prominently figures in their lives as they get older. Who are the mean kids? Who do you like? Who are you gravitating towards? Who should you stay away from? There's like all this negotiation because it's a large amount of kids, relatively speaking, right? I mean, preschool is, of course, a smaller ratio. Kindergarten gets bigger, then you get 24 kids to one adult as we get older. And so there's a lot of like peer inner negotiations. And so it's kind of relentless. And, with the luxury of homeschooling, which I recognize is truly a luxury, we realized that social things, any big social day, absolutely needed a day in between. And so when we head into December, that is something that I really, really, really keep days in between, because you can get so swept up in the season and we're doing this and then we're doing that. And, definitely you can do quiet things. Like I had a friend talk about going, walking the neighborhood, looking at lights. That's great. I wouldn't consider that like a huge activity. Activities usually are paid for. They require driving to, they require navigating crowds maybe, and a lot of stimulation, a lot of like auditory and visual stimulation. And so make sure you're taking good breaks through December. And even if you have to cancel, really, I can't state this enough. You will not miss out on anything if you cut back on activities and just spend more time maybe watching the Christmas movies, or Pascal and I love doing stringing popcorn and cranberries for the Christmas tree and that kind of thing. And then the last thing I do, especially during the holidays, is I call it nobody's going to die. So when I start getting amped up, when I start getting strung out, when I start getting burnt out, I always think no one's going to die. No one's going to die if I sleep late. No one's going to die if I go to bed at 7. No one's going to die if I don't go to that party. No one's going to die if I give up this, that, or the other thing. So that I think is a really good phrase, because sometimes we feel like, we all kind of have an inflated sense of importance. Like, I have to be at this party. I have to do this. I have to be there for this. I have to be there for that. And honestly, very often, yes, people will miss us, but again, nobody's going to die. So take the time you need for you and your family to stay nice and level through the holidays, so you're not trashed, after the holidays and feel like, oh, because January, and that can be a real letdown for kids too, right? We're like, up, Christmas, January 1st. And then it's like, at least in New England, then you're in the heart of winter. It's bleak, it's freezing, there's snow. So I really encourage you to take those days in between and remember that no one's going to die. And in general, I think, it's probably, well, it's Thanksgiving, so it's probably not too late, but scaling back. And we always talk about this, and I know it's a push on social media, scaling back. Kids, I put this in my newsletter last week. Kids just want to open ship. And when I was growing up, we were really, really poor for a few years. And my mom, it was after my parents' divorce, and we had holes in shoes, that kind of poor, and not enough food. And so Christmas time came, and my mom she could only afford necessities that she bought throughout the year. So like underwear, socks, that kind of thing. And she would take comic book paper because she couldn't afford wrapping book paper. And she would wrap, like, say, a 6-pack of underpants. She'd wrap them individually. So we had things to open. And socks, like each sock would be wrapped individually. So we had things to open. And then like my sister and I would get like an Avon, I don't know, like an Avon mascara or something like that, like a Avon makeup in our stocking. Our stocking would be filled with oranges. And then it was just wrapping, and we loved it. We loved wrapping stuff. Like we were like, oh, another pair of underpants. And so remember that you don't have to be fancy at all. And remember, especially with little kids, I put it on Instagram. There's a whole slew of these right now. It's kind of an Instagram trend of like a kid in a high chair, and the parents give them a toy and then like a household item, and the kid always chooses the household item. So like if your kid's under 3, like a remote with like there's just so many things you can give. So, and if you land on these, the comments are hilarious, because somebody said, yeah, like I have a empty box with a clothespin in it. It's my son's favorite toy, a scrub brush for the kitchen, sponges, like these funny things that you wouldn't even imagine, even egg cartons, recycled things, Parmesan cheese containers, So under 3, just don't even stress about new toys, honestly. But we can do so much less. And I also think that some people love the holidays and other people don't. And some people are neutral. What Pascal and I started to do probably when we moved into this house, because it's so small, we got a half-size Christmas tree, or like a 3/4 size, because it has to fit on a table, and our house is so small. And we had tons of ornaments, garnished over the years. Some of them meant a lot. Some of them meant very little. So we went through all our ornaments and picked out like our absolute favorites, the ones that mean something, the ones we remember. And then we got one strand of lights. It's like 100 light or 100 foot. I forget. It's a big one, but it's just one strand, so it doesn't get tangled. And then we do the popcorn and cranberries and dried oranges for the Christmas tree. And that kind of takes us all December. Like that's not something that goes on the tree. So what we'll do is we'll watch Christmas movies, maybe a couple a week. We used to do every night, but now I'm not his favorite person anymore. So we'll do, we usually start with Die Hard, and then we go to Elf. And from there we move on to different Christmas movies, and we sit there and we just talk through the movie because we've seen it 100 times, and we string our popcorn and cranberry. And that's just our super chill way. I gave up Christmas cards about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago. I gave up Christmas cards. I realized everybody has social media. Everybody's kept up with my life. And it's with my birthday being December 9th. It's just, it's too much. It's too much. There's my birthday, and then the cards have to be in. And it was just something I love getting them. And if you love them, I'm not suggesting you give them up, but it was something that I told everybody. I said, I'm not doing it. If you don't want to send me one, I understand. If you do, I love them. But it's just a game I just didn't want to play anymore. And then Pascal and I also went down to a $5 Christmas. So it's just me and him. And I have disposable income. We don't want for anything, So I was like, buddy, let's just go down to $5. Well, also because I pay his car insurance because his birthday's June 1st. So it's exactly 6 months from Christmas. So it works out that you pay it twice a year. So I get it. He gets it for his birthday, and then he gets it for Christmas, which I was like, whew, that takes care of the gifts forever. But he still wants something on Christmas morning, of course. And he would be stressed out about buying me something. And I was like, $5. Like, we're not doing this like expensive or lots. We don't need a lot. we get everything we need. Our house is too small. We're not buying to buy. Like if you see something you love, that's that. And we really try to keep under $5. And that's how we've minimized the holiday. So it's left a lot of room for other things. Last year I pick one baking thing, and that's like my hostess gift, or just, I make tons just to give to people at my archery club. Last year I did sourdough coffee cake. And so I had all this time to just bake a lot of sourdough coffee cakes to give to people. And that felt really good, giving something homemade. And wherever I went, I just kept them in my car, just giving them out. And so minimizing the holiday left me a lot of room for doing the things that really make my heart feel good and feed my soul. And it really helped getting away from that like commercialized Christmas, or just buying to have things under the tree, or because you feel guilty. So anyway, again, do what you do. The holidays are intensely personal. Just sharing what I do, and maybe it might be an inspiration to you. And it's just made me stay calm. I used to get really hopped up after Thanksgiving. And again, it's my birthday too. And I'm a middle child, December birthday. So I'm never going to be the person who doesn't tell you it's my birthday. I get very excited every year. And it's, but from there, it's like Thanksgiving, my birthday, then Christmas. It's such a clusterfuck. And so I've really spent the 18 years of Pascal's life, like scaling back a little bit more. And now I feel like we're at a really cool kind of minimalist place, and I love it. All right. I hope you guys found that helpful. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope we kick off the holiday season with joy and gratitude and self-care. All right. As always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting me. And as always, rock on.
Okay, bye everyone. Just a reminder, if you need additional resources, I have Oh Crap Potty Training. I have Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler. And those books are available everywhere you want to find a book. You can also go to my website, jamieglowacki.com, where you can book private sessions with me, buy any of my courses. Those are really geared towards potty training help. And also I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, jamie.glowacki, and I do a lot of lives and usually posting a lot of good information. So those are extra resources for you. And as always, rock on. Have an awesome day.